Māori, though, aren't about to give up. They build what will be the greatest defensive line established by either side in the New Zealand Wars. A 10-kilometre-long defensive arc of trenches, tunnels, bunkers and redoubts centred at Pāterangi, stretching from Te Awamutu to the Waipā River in the upper Waikato.
Pāterangi was prepared for this battle, this fight. Well, history tells us that it was so well prepared that General Cameron and his officers found that they would only take that with serious loss, if they could take it at all. So they decided to bypass Pāterangi and come to what they saw as the food bowl of Pāterangi, Rangiaowhia.
Before the war, Rangiaowhia was the granary of New Zealand in some ways. It was renowned for the wheat that was grown there and all kinds of produce. Rangiaowhia is at the heart of this thriving Māori economy.
Rangiaowhia was actually the food bowl for Auckland. Rangiaowhia was feeding the troops before they came through. So there were thousands of people living here, cultivating the fields, making a good living from this space. It wasn't just a village, it was a major township.
Rangiaowhia is not only a thriving agricultural centre, but for more than 20 years, Māori and Pākehā intermingle here, living together, worshipping together. St Paul's Chapel is the last link with the past. Today it stands sentinel over rolling, prosperous dairy country. But in February 1864, it bears witness to an atrocity that echoes to this very day. At the time, Māori living here are led to believe it's a safe haven for non-combatants, decreed by the Bishop of New Zealand himself.
The general was surprised and somewhat dismayed that children and women were in the firing line. And so with Bishop Salmon, they brokered an agreement that Rangiaowhia was set aside as a place for non-combatants to be safe. Well, that was the expectation.
Late on the evening of the 20th of March, 1864, Cameron orders his troops to march in single file silently around the Pāterangi defences, so that they sneak around it in the middle of the night with the aid of some Māori guides. The invading force arrives at Rangiaowhia before dawn on the Sunday the 21st of February, and there's panic and terror amongst the people there who run for their lives.
People were ordered to come out of the house. We have a kōrero about an old man coming wrapped in his blanket and being shot summarily. One of our kōia had retired with some of our mokopunas. The old lady had a gun in the house for shooting, for hunting, for those kinds of purposes. So she used it to defend herself. And then the soldier kicked the door down and shot him. We have this story from our nanny Mamai. As a 10-year-old child, she was playing down by the creek, and then they heard shots, and her mother told her to take her younger siblings into the bush and hide until whatever was happening stopped. Her name at that time was Wikitoria. So she did that, and unfortunately, it didn't stop. So she escaped with her siblings to Otorohanga. And there, when the old people there heard her story of this pāhuatanga and heard her talk about hearing her mother being raped, her old people being shot, and children also losing their lives. That they just did what they liked. I choose to believe that they were under orders, that they were told to round everybody up, get these natives out, expel them by whatever means necessary, and if it means killing them, oh well, the land is ours for the taking. Word had already gotten through that you come out, you're going to get killed. Don't come out. So they stayed in there, and the soldiery set light to that church. You can understand how this still affects us today.
After Rangiaowhia, after the loss of their industrial heartland, there's nowhere to go. Those who can trudge off into exile in Te Nehenehenui, neighbouring Maniapoto. Others remain committed to the fight, and ahead lies Ōrākau, the final stand of the war for Waikato.
A whole number of tūwharetoa and whanganui had come up to support at Ōrākau. And then Tūhoe had come over and Kahungunu By the time those other iwi had come, they were tired and they were weary, and they were still digging their trenches by the time the militia came.
And they really wanted to engage directly with the troops. They didn't want to take their weapons back all the way to Tūhoe without being fired. So the emotions were quite strong that an engagement should be taken very soon. Their decision and idea was to do so at Orako.
Orako, in Ngāti Maniapoto, is home to the senior fighting commander Rewe Manga Maniapoto.
Manga's view was totally opposite. Orako was never ever a part of any battle plan or any defensive strategy at all. The tactical situation on the ground, the way the ground falls, its terrain, it opens itself up to being surrounded quite easily. Coupled with that, they hadn't been able to secure sufficient ammunition, absolutely insufficient water. The only food they had were potatoes and kumara, pumpkins. So unfortunately, all of these lemons came into effect, where they all came together to create a disastrous tactical situation for the commander to be in.
To make matters worse, the Pā is unfinished. They are once again greatly outnumbered, and a third of them are women and children.